Today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 reads of 2023, and since picking 10 is too hard, they are actually going to be 12. Welcome to Nemours Book Nook. I'm George, and I like to talk about the books that I read. Right, let's get started. Now, in no particular order, these are the books that I loved most this year and which kind of elicited the strongest emotional response from me. Starting off with The Way of Kings. So this is the book one of the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. So this is, as you can see, it is a huge, long, epic fantasy book that is never actually felt all that long and dreary to me, to be honest. I mean, it's paced pretty well, and despite being 1,200 pages long, it really moved quite well. It has a lot of world building. It has a lot of interesting characters, magic, sort of a whole history of the world. It has these interludes between the different parts that focus on different locations in the world and different characters, sometimes one-off characters that were pretty interesting. So it has pretty much a bit of everything you would want in a epic fantasy book, and I kind of dropped the ball in this series after January, but I'm excited to continue on with it. I will probably be doing a reread of this one and try to be up to date with the whole series by the time the next book comes out in December of 2024. Right, moving on to The Great Hunt. This is Wheel of Time book 2. I've been reading Wheel of Time this year. I'm up to book 6 right now. So this is really the book where kind of Wheel of Time steps out of the shadow of Lord of the Rings, where it kind of was in book 1, and it really starts getting into its own element and telling its own story. It really gets bigger and bigger in scope. There's a lot of very interesting world building aspects introduced in this book, some very cool characters, and this is also the book that kind of solidifies Rand, the main character, as really as a character, and also has one of the most epic ending sequences that I've ever seen. It was really nice. So yeah, Great Hunt, very good book. Moving on, I do not have this one in physical, but it is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Now, this is his one of his Cosmere standalones. Cosmere is kind of the universe that he's building with his books. It is really one of the coolest magic systems I have ever seen. It's based around color and breath, and it has pretty much a bit of everything. It has good politics, it has world building, it has sort of this bright and vibrant world. It has some cool twists, it has interesting characters, a sentient weapon, which is always a bonus, and a complete story. So basically I enjoyed this quite a bit. There is some potential for a next book, but I don't think anything concrete has been announced yet. I did a more extensive review of this book in my update for August, I think, so if you want to check it out, there is a bit more content on this book there. Moving on to another book that I regrettably do not have physically is Leviathan Wakes. This is book 1 of The Expanse. Now, I read 6 books of The Expanse this year, and I'm in love with this series. It is really, Leviathan Wakes is sort of this mind-blowing beginning of one of the best sci-fi series, space opera series that I've ever read. It is sort of this extremely realistic story, even if it's a futuristic sci-fi thing. It has very relatable characters, marvelous world building, a gripping story that really doesn't let you stop thinking about it. The story itself in this book is sort of this detective type noir thing, but with an alien technology twist. And of course, obviously, a lot of cool characters. The writing is pretty accessible, and it's also something that I've been doing on audio because I find it to be really conducive to audiobooks, and I've been enjoying it a whole lot. So if you're looking for a good sci-fi series to read, Expanse is where it's at, and there's also a show. Sort of the way the future is presented in these books is so well done that I really have no trouble believing that it's something that could actually happen. And whether that's good or bad, you can make your own opinion if you decide to read the books. Moving on, this is The Chaos Curse by R.S. Salvatore. Now, I didn't read a lot of him. He's my favorite author this year, but I finished the Cleric Quintet. So this is basically 5 books that are about one of the more side characters in the Legend of Drizzt series, with Catterley. It really presented him with a very nice backstory and very nice build-up for his appearance in the Legend of Dress books, which is very memorable. The whole idea here, it explores really what it means to be a devoted cleric, the meaning of sacrifice in the name of your god, and the whole book as a whole has these kind of dark, murky overtones, and it also presents vampires as a really powerful and formidable enemy that I think was very well presented. And it also, in the end, as all these books have, it has this feeling that you're kind of playing a D&D campaign, which I really love about it because it kind of makes it a bit more of an easier read and not that involved. And it also has the comedic duo of Ivan and Pykel Boulder Shoulder, which if you've read the Driss books you know them, but they are really fun. They are dwarves, and they're just a really nice tandem. Yeah, I think this was actually a really good conclusion to the Cleric Quintet. After the slightly disappointing book 4, this one was actually pretty good, and I liked how it ended. Moving on. Now we have another physical book, finally, The Fires of Heaven. Now this is another Wheel of Time book. I really like this one. I mean, this one, it really also, you'll hear me saying this a lot actually about the Wheel of Time books, but the ending was superb. I mean, it has an amazing action sequence. It was really, really cool. It also had a lot of world building and a lot of development for most of our main cast, both good and bad guys. And yeah, there were some sections that dragged on, a bit of a circus at times, but I would say that this book was very good. It was definitely solidifies itself as one of my favorites in the series. I'm currently reading book 6, and I am not enjoying myself that much. Right, then moving on to something a bit more light yet again. It was Horus Rising. So this is the first book in the Horus Heresy, which is a Warhammer 40k book. It's the first one that I read, and I really enjoyed it. I would say that it is a great sort of this military fantasy / sci-fi book. It has some cool technology, some very good characters actually, some interesting alien races and alien planets, and this sort of large-scale conflict and mystery to it as well. And the writing was really good. I mean, Dan Abnett, I really vibe with his writing, and I see that he's written some more series, some more books in this series, which is about 50 books long. But yeah, they're not all written by the same authors, but I'll be actually pretty excited to get into more of Dan Abnett's writing later on. And yeah, I think this is a pretty good sort of palate cleanser book between big fantasy books. And my notes keep falling down, right? And yeah, so this is actually a very good book and a very good intro, I think, into the Warhammer 40k universe. I will definitely be continuing on with these. Right, moving on. A bit more of a classic here. We have The Time Machine by Herbie Wells. This book was amazing. I mean, it's sort of this timeless story about a man who recounts his travels through time. And it really has, as many sci-fi classics go, it has some very great ideas about how society might develop into the future when you go further and further on into the future, because this kind of goes to thousands to millions of years. And we have these kind of themes of, complacency and laziness, and how the inhabitants of the planet have become so comfortable and so complacent to the point of laziness and complete inaction, and they become these kind of weak and meek creatures that fall prey to the sort of the more monstrous denizens of the underworld. And yeah, this book really stretches the imagination a lot, and it's written in a very sort of interesting way, in that sense that, yeah, it kind of expands your mind. So really does paint a very, very good picture. It's both grotesque and majestic at the same time. And now we have Assassin's Apprentice. Yes, this is my first delving into Robin Hobb and the Realm of the Elderlings. I am very excited by this because I had a feeling I would love Robin Hobb's writing, and I did. So yeah, this book was just amazing. I mean, the characters, the writing, the plot. It's just the atmosphere and sort of the atmosphere and the immersion in Hobb's books is just on a level I have never seen before. I mean, she has a way of writing. I can't exactly explain it, but it just kind of sucks you in. It sucks you into the story no matter what is happening. because basically one thing that is characteristic of these books, at least this one that I've heard as a whole around the Elden Rings, it's more of a sort of this slice of life type of thing. So it's basically describing the life of our main character through whom we see the story. So it's Fitz, and it just kind of describes his life, his struggles, his emotions, what he goes through. There's a lot of emotional gut punches here, so Hob really likes to make her characters suffer and us with them. The plot is kind of a bit on the sidelines, but it manages to be interesting and mysterious at the same time. It has these sort of courtly intrigues as well, and just a really, really interesting thing. And I cannot wait to kind of continue on with the books. I will be starting Royal Assassin soon, which is book 2 in the Farseer trilogy. And also, I have to mention that the way that Hob describes animals and Fitz's relationship with them is just really, really good. It is very special and endearing in a way. She really does make you care about the characters she writes about. So yeah, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Moving on, I'm, let's say, cheating a bit, but I have another Expanse book on here. This is Sibylla Byrne. This is book 4 of the Expanse. Now, why I put this one, I can't say much because of spoilers, so this is kind of the drawback of including books that are later on in the series. But I can say that this is first of all, it has one of my favorite side characters in the entire series so far. This kind of naive genius scientist who kind of feels completely lost half the time, but in the end she's kind of able to step up and help when it counts most, and sort of almost save the day in a way. The book is a great example of this kind of space exploration of unknown worlds and these kind of new and fauna, new and unexplored fauna, and new types of plants and new types of things that people have never seen before. And it has obviously a lot of this kind of alien technology and a lot of sci-fi elements to it. And it also brings back kind of the detective feel that we have in that we had in book 2, in book 1, that wasn't that prevalent in books 2 and 3. So I really like that was back. And yet again, moving on, we have Nemesis Games. So this is book 5 of the Expanse. This is by far my favorite. This book was insanely good. I think it's the best Expanse book so far. I have still 3 more to read, so I can't say if it's my favorite, but this one just was a wild ride from start to finish. I mean, we get the backstory on pretty much all of our main cast of characters, which is great. I mean, I've been asking for that since book 1. And we have these kind of major, holy shit kind of events that take place that set out these kind of big ramifications and kind of just set up the tone for the rest of the series. It basically changes everything. It is, it is action-packed. It is very character development heavy. It is, plot-driven, exciting, and masterfully written. I think this book kind of redefines what a space opera and a sci-fi series should be. And finally, is it finally? We'll see. Fahrenheit 451. Now, this is another sort of sci-fi classic, my Ray Bradbury. This book I read in 2 days. This book is one of the best and most frighteningly accurate dystopian novels that I have ever read. It focuses on our sort of current consumerist and social media driven reality, and makes some very, very accurate predictions about it, given that it was written in the 50s or 60s, was it? Yes, in the 50s. So it kind of presents a society where people have essentially started acting like these mindless zombies who have no sense of identity beyond what the content they consume is. And they have these parlors, which kind of just parrot out content to them, and they just sit and consume it, which is essentially television or social media these days. We have these firemen that are employed to burn away all the remaining books, so that they can't sort of poison the minds of the people with their ideas and their philosophies. But in reality, what is interesting here is that people really don't need that, because they themselves have given up reading. They have given up everything in exchange for just consuming endless amounts of content and repetitive media and so on. And we actually followed this fireman who starts to kind of wake up and realizes actually what is happening in the world, and to the people, and we sort of follow his fall from grace in the eyes of the government and his managers and superiors and so on. And we also have in the background this idea about war that is also a sort of constant looming threat that is both physical and metaphorical in a sense. It is a very atmospheric book and very, very horrendously accurate. But it does actually have a sort of a potential, does have a sort of positive ending to it, which is pretty cool. And it kind of leaves you with, a tinge of optimism for the future that, humanity can actually survive this. And yeah, I think this is a must-read for anyone who enjoys these kinds of these kinds of dystopian novels. So yeah, that was actually it. These are the best books that I read in 2023. So I think it was a pretty good reading year for me. And yeah, so what are yours? Share in the comments. I'm very interested to see what you guys got up to reading these this year, and kind of maybe steal some ideas for next year. And yeah, let's have a discussion. And thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.